Jesse Kelly Show. Let's have some fun on a Thursday. And we are going to have so much fun tonight on a Thursday. And Ask Dr. Jesse Thursday. Dome has a book coming out. We'll make fun of her. But of course, we have to make it about you and your questions. And man, I hope you like history because we're apparently going to do a lot of that tonight. We're also going to talk about single subject bills, illegal immigration. We're going to talk about people believing the mainstream media, also believing mainstream science. Fascinating questions from you. It's going to be a rip-roaring good time. So let us begin. Now, I want to begin with actually kind of a different one that I just thought was so cool. And I got a bunch of these emails, different forms of them. I can't read them all. I'm not going to read them all. It would be too boring. But just know that I loved them all. Personal connections to World War II and the kamikaze stuff that we talked about earlier in the week. Don't worry, I'll get to politics in a minute. We're going to talk about single subject bills and things like that. So it's going to be up and down in history and modern and all kinds of things tonight on the Jesse Kelly Show. But I got a bunch of these, and so many of these, man, it's just amazing. The subject of this one is Kamikaze Show USS Franklin. The USS Franklin, for those who don't know, was a World War II aircraft carrier, suffered horribly, a kamikaze attack. I hope I don't mess this up. I believe over 300 men on that ship died in one kamikaze attack. It was terrible. Fires, bombs. It was awful. They had a ceremony to bury the men at sea the next day, and I think it was 8 hours long, if I remember right. It was terrible. Anyway, this guy says, Jesse, the kamikaze history lesson was awesome. I just finished it while catching up on your show. I wanted to share a cool story of my grandfather, Benjamin Marion Ricks. He was on the USS Franklin when it was attacked by Japanese kamikazes. After sustaining catastrophic damage and massive casualties, it became known as the ship that would not die. They defended multiple waves of kamikazes before the USS Pittsburgh came to rescue and tugged it into Pearl. They tugged ships back to Pearl Harbor, back to San Francisco, back to several places in America for repairs when they couldn't repair them at sea, by the way. Those who didn't abandon ship were given the prestigious award of being in the 704 Club, which Ben was part of. I can't put all the details in this email because you will just lose attention and throw my email in the trash. That's not true. All right, it's true. After my grandfather was discharged and the war was over, Ben got dropped off in Brooklyn, New York, where he promptly borrowed his buddy's motorcycle to pick up my, at the time, 16-year-old grandmother and crashed on the way to their first date. He was thrown in jail for being, dating a 16-year-old. He gets out of jail, visits her at the hospital. They fell in love, got married, had my mom. He and Peg lived until their 90s. They just don't make them like they used to, man. John is this guy's name. Man, that's the kind of stuff you send me when we do these kinds of histories, whether it's Vietnam or Korea or World War II, or it becomes alive and special, and I love it. Blesses us beyond end here at the Jesse Kelly Show when we can bless you in that way, and it's awesome. Now, let's move on. We'll do some ugly politics stuff, but I'm warning you. Apparently, history was on your mind. There's a lot of that coming tonight. A lot of it coming tonight, and I'm just in that kind of a mood. Plus, there's no gigantic world-ending story we have to tackle, so maybe we'll just screw off for a while tonight. But let's get to some important items like this one. Dear Jesse, while we control everything, why do Republicans not bring forth single-item bills like requiring voter ID or including males from female sports? His name is Gil. It's a very good question. You could ask the question about a lot of things. We have the House. We have the Senate. We have the presidency. A single item bill seems so simple. doesn't it? It's very simple. There's no negative to it. Why not bring that forward? So, you know how we talked yesterday? Maybe you remember. We were talking about the communist politicians, Democrat politicians, and I was warning about the Rear Admiral Buttigieg, how he's a true believer. He's got a real hatred, a darkness inside of him, a real hatred for America. But then I brought up Chuck Schumer. I mean, Chuck Schumer I called him a lizard person yesterday, and I really do mean that. You can hear it when he talks. Chuck Schumer doesn't believe in anything. Nothing. Not right wing, not left wing. He's been a soulless politician for so long. He can't even really fake it that well whenever he's out there giving a speech about something. He's going to say and do whatever it is that keeps him in power. All right? You probably remember we talked about that yesterday. Well, here's the bad side of that, the truth of that. You don't think it's only Democrats who do that, right? How many elected Republicans at every level in this country do you think are only committed to staying in power? It's a lot. It's not all of them. I'm not saying that. They're all crooks. They're all trash. That's not true at all. I know a lot of these people personally. Yes, there are a lot of them who are crooks and trash. There are a lot of really good people. But there are a lot of people who are simply a Republican version of Chuck Schumer. And they'll tell you the things you want to hear when they think they can manipulate you, but they're not in it for America or a secure border or low taxes or cutting spending or pro-life or whatever your issue is or my issue is. They're lizard people just like Chuck Schumer is, who will say whatever they have to say on camera, but when it comes down to brass tacks, they're not going to actually do anything. Do you remember, I actually kind of slips my mind what the issue was in Wyoming. I believe it was a boys and girls sports issue. Wyoming. You may be not familiar with Wyoming. I am, because I grew up in Montana. We'd go down to Wyoming. We'd go antelope hunting. Wyoming is a beautiful, really, really cool state, but there's like nobody there. It's enormous, and I think their population's something like 500,000 people. It's just, there's just nobody there. The weather is brutal. It's not many people can survive that kind of weather, want to survive that kind of weather. But Wyoming is unbelievably red. I'm sure they only have, I haven't looked in a while, 1, maximum 2 congressional seats. I bet you it's 1. I guarantee it's Republican. But it's more than that. If you break the state down by their state seats, state house, state senate, I'm not sure there is an elected Democrat in a statewide seat in Wyoming. It's just red. And if there is, there's 1 or 2. It's just red, blood red. And yet they're shooting down obvious Republican bills? How does that happen? Why does that happen? Well, here's how and why it happens. There are Democrats in Wyoming. There are power-hungry lizard people in Wyoming. And those lizard people, they understand you can't run for office as a Democrat. And they understand, okay, so they'll fake being Republicans. I'm a Republican, God and country. But they also understand they have to learn to speak the language of the Republican. And so what do? They raise money. And then on their campaign commercials or on the little mailers they send you if you're in Wyoming, you get a card and it's, Bob Western. And he's talking about how much he loves guns and he's going to be pro-life and low taxes. Now, does he believe any of those things? Probably not. But he understands if you want power, if you want to go to the state house, you want to go to the state senate in Wyoming, you have to pretend, you have to lie, or you're never getting elected. Now let's go to the federal government. If that's a problem in a God and country blood red state like Wyoming, how much do you think it's a problem in the United States House of Representatives? How many Republicans sitting in the House right now do you think truly share your values versus how many know they have to pretend come election season? We'll expand on that a little bit more here in a moment. It is the Jesse Kelly Show on a wonderful Thursday, and Ask Dr. Jesse Thursday, because I won't be here tomorrow, but don't worry, I'll be back on Monday, Medal of Honor Monday. I am going to have to start cooking up another history show for you at some point. I haven't decided what I'm going to do it on yet. It's not coming next week, so don't be getting your hopes up. We got to do some more politics, and I'll get to some history tonight, don't worry. But I wanted to continue what we were talking about there. A guy sends an email and says, hey, why don't we have single-item bills right now? We have Republicans in the House. We have Republicans in the Senate. We have a Republican president. But voter ID, that's a simple one. Get it out there. It's simple. It's easy. We'd have the votes. So I've shared this story with you before, but I'm going to share it again. I ran for Congress twice, as you well know, in Arizona. I was the Republican nominee twice in Arizona. Went on to lose the general, but I was the Republican nominee twice. My first time, I experienced a lot of things that really, I won't say shook me, but it definitely made me sit up in my chair and notice how things really worked in this country. When you're running for Congress, especially once you become the nominee, you will, if you ever do this, you will have to go back to Washington, D.C. for money. That's what you're going back there for. You go back and you try to get campaign donations from other congressmen and from all kinds of various political PACs who may align with you. Now, let me pause on this for a quick second and clarify something. Not all political PACs are bad. There are all kinds of wonderful ones out there that believe what you believe, and they're pushing for those things, and they'll find candidates who they can back even in a primary sometimes, who will push for the things they want. I'll tell you one right now. Citizens United. Citizens United, everyone knows the name because of the Supreme Court case, but Citizens United didn't wait until I won the general election to send me a check. They wanted more hardcore people in Congress. They got involved in a primary. They said, no, we need Jesse to win against the establishment guy they threw in. Anyway, setting that aside. You go back to raise money. One night, I'm out with a couple congressmen, just friends of mine, and I'm out, and we go to dinner, and there was a PAC that I'm not going to name, and it was one of these PACs that represents an industry you would know, and probably an industry you would like, to be honest with you, but an industry you would know. Now, this industry gets a lot of federal money. A lot of federal money. Probably shouldn't. A lot of it probably not justified, but they get a lot of federal money. They sat down to dinner with me. They were part of this group. And I'm back there making my pitch. Hey, I'm Jesse Kelly, and I'm going to save America and all the naive things you believe when you're young and running for all that stuff. I'm going to save the country by myself. So I make my pitch, but they weren't really interested in that. They didn't care about my position on really any issue, none. They didn't ask me a specific thing. The only thing they wanted to know was, hey, you're going to keep the money flowing, right? If a bill comes up and it means money for us, you're going to vote yes on that, right? And, of course, I didn't tell them that. Told them no. I was like that. I just didn't care. But that answer, and they made it obvious. It was not like it was subtle. That answer was going to determine whether they use their vast quantity of money to back my candidacy or not. They chose to abstain because of the answer I gave them. Now, that's one example of, I know it's not shocking to you, of how it works. How many Republicans in the House of Representatives in the United States Senate, how many of them want to keep getting reelected? Pretty much all of them. How do you get reelected? Well, you have to raise money. It's really, really, really easy to give in to temptation. We're all susceptible to it, aren't you? I know I am. I'm a human being. You want to get reelected? You want to go back to the Senate? You want to go back to the House for another 2 years? Well, you know what doesn't get you there? Single subject bills that help the American people. You know what does get you reelected? A large, large campaign war chest where you can go to the people of Wyoming, the people of South Carolina, and you can run an ad on TV when they're watching Fox News at night telling them how much you stand with Trump and the Second Amendment and I love God. It takes a lot of money to run that ad. How do you get that money? You get that money by stealing from the American people, and you steal from the American people not with single subject bills that help the American people. You steal from the American people by loading a bunch of crap into good bills, forcing Congress to vote yes on it. The money flows to them. Your money flows to them. They in turn write you a check for it, and everybody wins, except, of course, the American people. That's how it works. It's ugly. I hate it. You hate it, but that's how it works. Let's do a little history. Just a little history, then we'll get back to illegals and things like that. It is the Jesse Kelly Show on a wonderful Thursday. Remember, if you miss any part of the show, if you miss Kamikaze Talk on Monday and Tuesday, or anything else you're interested in, go download the podcast. It's free. Go subscribe. iHeart, Spotify, iTunes. Doesn't cost you a dime. Go subscribe. Enjoy the world-famous Jesse Kelly Show at your leisure or leisure, Chris. Don't shake your head. Anyway, I'm sorry, I have to play this before we get back to the questions. Dome today made a huge announcement.
Just over a year ago, I launched my campaign for President of the United States. 107 days, traveling the country, fighting for our future. The shortest presidential campaign in modern history. It was intense, high stakes, and deeply personal for me and for so many of you. Since leaving office, I've spent a lot of time reflecting on those days, talking with my team, my family, my friends, and pulling my thoughts together. In essence,
no, she totally sounds a little sauced. Absolutely, Chris.
Writing a journal that is this book, 107 Days. With candor and reflection, I've written a behind-the-scenes account of that journey. In writing this book, one truth kept coming back to me.
Our soundboard's still a little messed up. I really missed my fart sound. I was going to finish that. What, Chris? I was going to do the... All right, so before we get back to the questions, let's do another little kind of behind the scenes look at politics. Something I've discovered from working in politics and doing radio and TV. And then I wrote a book, The Anti-Communist Manifesto, available at jessekelleybook.com. What, Chris? Anyway, politicians, they've discovered the ultimate way to get rich. They write a book. Nobody's interested in. How many people are going to buy Dome's 107 Days book? Even Democrats. How many people? Kamala Harris's own family. They don't want to read her stupid book that somebody ghost wrote for her. No one cares about this. But she'll make millions. It happens all the time. These Democrats come out with these books, and they make millions. Now, remember when we discussed a system membership card? You know what the system is. We talk about it all the time. All the institutions supposed to be separate. Now they all Now that they're all conquered by communists, they work together, speak with one voice, one purpose. You got all that. And we talk about a system membership card, essentially proving to be a loyal member of the Communist Party. If you are loyal to the system, there are generous rewards. It's how so many people fall victim to it. So many people get sucked in by it. It pays big money to be loyal to the system. We're all making fun of Stephen Colbert because his show got canceled. His show was losing $40 million a year. If you lost your boss $40 a year, you would get fired. Stephen Colbert was making, what was he making, Chris? Something like $10 million? I think he was making $10 million, if not more, a year. He will retire. The rest of his life will be mansions and private jets for a show that lost $40 million a year. How could that go on as long as it did? He was a loyal member of the system. How much, Chris? 15 mil a year. Professional quarterback money. Well, not anymore, but used to be professional quarterback money. That's because he was loyal. Now for politicians. Here's how it works. They write a book no one cares about. Michelle Obama did this, Dome did it, they all do it. They write a book no one cares about, no one's buying it, no one's reading it. So how does the money come flowing in? Well, the book publisher will give you an advance based on anticipated sales, the size of your platform in advance. Look, I got one for mine. Now, believe me, it was not Michelle Obama's, but I got one for mine. You get an advance. Hey, you have this kind of a following. You have a radio show. You have a famous this. You have whatever. This is what we think your book will sell. Let us write you a large check, and they divvy it out by published date, the date you finish writing it. But let us write you a large check for it. You cash the money, publish the book, go on a little book tour. Okay? Why would Dome get I haven't seen it yet. I actually don't know the number, but I promise you the number is north of $1 million. Why would Dome, we'll just call it $1 million. It'll be north of that. Why would Dome get $1 million from any book publisher? Do they want to lose money? Well, no, it's not that. You know, we talk about the system membership card. Well, there is a large quantity of cash by, a lot of it's taxpayer money through nonprofits and these NGOs. Some of it's communist billionaires, the George Soros types, and many others. He's just the name you would know. There's a huge amount of communist money flowing through our system. How it works is you find yourself a communist group who will purchase 50,000, 100,000 copies of your book. Not only does that put you on the bestseller list, but the publisher makes back all the money they just gave you for an advance. So it's one of those things where everyone wins if you're a loyal member of the system, if your system membership card is up to date. Dome writes a book, 107 days, no one gives a crap, but it will sell a ton. And when the numbers come out of how many it sold, you'll look at the numbers and you'll say, are you kidding me? 50,000 people bought this crappy book? No one wants to read that. 50,000 books are sitting in a cardboard box at Communist Inc., the NGO who purchased 50,000 copies, probably in a roundabout way with taxpayer funds, maybe with George Soros money. The publisher got their money back. Dome got paid. She got money in the bank. And everyone wins. And this is how all communist systems have always operated. Communist systems operate by rewarding people who are loyal to the system. It's always worked that way and always will. In East Germany, the Soviet Union, China, Cambodia, whatever, everyone wasn't starving. Oh, yeah, millions and millions of people were tortured and killed and starved, but not loyal members to the party. If you were loyal to the party, you've got a great car, you got a great job, you got benefits, you need health care, we'll fly you somewhere. No big steak night tonight? Sounds good, boys. Oh, what's that? Another 10 million peasants died last month? they should have gotten their loyalty card. That's how it's always worked, and that's how it works with the Communist Book Network. It does not work that way on the right. The right, you have to sell books. That's just the bottom line. You have to sell books. There really aren't, at least not that I'm aware of. I'm sure maybe there's one or two out there. There's not a big organization that will come swoop in and buy up, 10,000 copies, 100,000 copies of your book and make you a bunch of cheddar. That doesn't really exist on the right. We don't have that kind of patronage network, but the communists in this country do. You want to know how, Bernie Sanders has 3 homes, how Joe Biden's going to make a bunch of money, Dome, Michelle Obama. That's how it works. You have a ghostwriter, you pay him $50,000, he writes your book for you. Pretty clean, pretty easy. You're done. You're rich. Publisher made money. You made money. Some billionaires out, $100,000? He didn't even know it existed. He's got $100,000 in his sofa. And everyone wins. Sorry, I went off on a political tangent. Now we'll go back and do some more Ask Dr. Jesse questions. What is a historical thing that kind of disillusioned me? Great email. We'll talk about that in a moment. It is the Jesse Kelly Show on a fantastic Thursday. I feel like I got too dark. I was talking about ugly political things. I don't like it. I'm in a great mood. I don't like it. Let's do some other stuff. Hey, Jesse, I'm a big history guy like you. I really appreciate the book references you give out. Sometimes, though, I'm disappointed when I learn about the reality of stuff. I read a book called Black Flags, Blue Waters on the golden age of piracy, and it turns out being a pirate kind of sucked. It didn't last very long, and you probably died. What's the most disillusioning historical thing you've learned? Because let's focus on the pirate thing for a moment. There is something known as the golden age of piracy. Maybe you've heard of this before, the golden age of piracy. He just mentioned it in the email. It's like a year. I know, look, hey, I watch Pirates of the Caribbean too. I have kids too. Surely they're having a good time. They're drinking some rum. They're singing and dancing. Some funny lines. It didn't last very long. It didn't last very long at all. It didn't last very long because the pirates in the golden age of piracy, they were stealing from large, powerful empires with large, powerful navies, and large, powerful empires with armies and navies do not allow you to take their goods. They will kill you if you do so. Then, now, and always. The friggin' Romans did this. Actually, Pompey Magnus. I brought up Pompey Magnus last night. One of his big claims to fame was there were a bunch of pirates that popped up in the Mediterranean, and they were pillaging some Roman stuff. Ooh, yeah, they all died. Pompey Magnus just marched down there and murdered every single one of them. It didn't last very long. And as far as how bad it sucked, I'm gonna expand this beyond piracy. I'm a dude. And because I'm a dude, I am fascinated with sailing. Old sailing ships, not modern stuff like that. That doesn't interest me at all. But old sailing ships, Christopher Columbus, Sir Francis Drake, you name it, I am fascinated by it. Warships, exploration, Magellan, all of it. I'm fascinated by it. That's just, I don't know. There's something about the adventure of it, the danger of it. I'm fascinated by it. Keep in mind that was a life of living hell. That many of those guys, I don't know that I would say majority because I don't have numbers on that. They were outlaws. They were outcasts. They were people who didn't have other options. Not only was there horrible danger, mainly from the weather, the food was beyond putrid. Remember, this is pre-refrigeration. The water had to be in buckets. Imagine a hot bucket of water in the bottom of a ship being your only source of fresh water. The bathroom situation, the discipline on the ships had to be unbelievably rigid because of the type of people. We're not even just talking about pirate ships, because of the type of people who would have to work on the ships. You fill up a ship with a bunch of convicts or guys kind of from the rough side of the tracks. And I'm not insulting you if you're from the rough side of the tracks, but you're going to have to do terrible things to keep people in line. You're going to have to put fear in them. It would be awful to have been on an old sailing ship. Absolutely awful. And then when you get wherever you're going, it's not as if there's a shower waiting for you in a comfy bed and a dime who wants you to tell her about all of her adventures. You show up in some miserable dump and there are hostile natives, hostile weather. If you're in a town of some kind, it's not very pleasant there either. And so much of the exploration that went on, this is something you don't think about. It was in hot places, miserable places. Look, it sounds great to be on a pirate ship exploring the Caribbean. Yeah, I'd love to be exploring the Caribbean right now, just like you would, in a ship that has air conditioning. You know what's not pleasant? 105 degrees with 100% humidity and no air conditioning whatsoever and nothing to escape it. I went to, I told you before, I went to, Ob and I did a haunted jail tour in Charleston, South Carolina. Totally cool. It was so cool. I'm always trying to see a ghost, and I didn't see one there either. But the jail tour, the history of it was amazing. It was in a really rough part of town. But either way, haunted jail tour was sick. And one of the worst parts of the jail, they talked about it all the time, was the freaking heat. Charleston, South Carolina is one of my favorite cities in the country. Now, it was not very pleasant pre-air conditioning. Neither was the jail, where they'd stuff you in a cell with no breeze whatsoever, and you just sit there and rot and sweat every single day. Being a pirate would have been horrible. It was a life you only lived if you had no other options. I'm sorry you were disillusioned by it, but I have one as well. Actually, I have a few of these things. Sometimes when you start reading history books or even watching documentaries or things like that, oftentimes, it's kind of cooler than you thought it was going to be. I'll be honest, the kamikazes were deeper than I thought they were going to be. Weren't you, Chris? Am I wrong on that? Even Chris agrees. It wasn't what I expected. I just expected a bunch of fanatical demons flying their planes into ships. That's just what I expected. It was deeper than I thought. Sometimes history surprises you in a good way. Other times, it doesn't. We'll talk about that next.